I'm Garth Edwards. I'm a celebrant of the Kidney Memorial. Before we get started, let's make sure all the electronics are off. We're all gathered here to honor and celebrate the life of Dennis Irving Gustavson. By the turnout this morning, this speaks a lot. Let's bow our heads for a moment. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. It seems that the best stories about our family members come from those closest to them. Tim, Dennis's son, has done a very good job capturing his persona. Tim, would you take us on that journey, please?
It really warms my heart to see all these faces. There's so many friends and family. It's uplifting to our spirits. Thank you so much for being here. You honor my father, Dennis Gustavson. Rex John Gustavson was Dad's father. He was originally named John Rex Gustavson after his father, Johann, who became John in America. In manhood, our grandfather went by Rex. Rex's family were immigrants from central west Sweden along the Norway border. They came for work in the woods. Originally, they settled in Whitecliff, British Columbia near Cranbrook. Rex and most of the clan then resettled to northeast Washington state when he was 10 years old. At age 14, Rex left home for forest work alongside his Bostrom uncles. Age 18, Rex landed in Central Oregon. He roomed and had a friendship with Les Schwab, who was an orphan. Rex told me he worked the whipsaw, limbed, and cut logs to length. Dad's mother, Alveda Littleton, was born in Pocatello, Idaho. Her mother, Flo, came to Pocatello from Tennessee at 12 years old, and after the passing of her mother, so she could be near family. When Alveda was a girl, she and her mother, Flo, moved to Prineville, Oregon. And our Uncle Dwayne was born shortly after. Rex and Alveda likely met in Prineville. He did tell me once, when I first saw her, I just had to have her. They married, and soon Alveda was pregnant. Flo and Alveda went back to Pocatello to be with family and have the baby. Rex stayed in Oregon, working in the woods. Dennis Irving Gustavson was born June 1st, 1941 in Pocatello, Idaho. The family reunited and their next move was to San Jose, California, where sister Sheila was born July 13th, 1942. When Dad was 3, they all returned to Prineville, Oregon. Dennis Gustavson was a son of Prineville in all that entails. He had a very close bond with his mother, Alveda. Dad grew up playing sports, hunting, and fishing. At age 12, he was the town marble champ and even traveled to the state tournament in Portland. He dropped down once to show his technique when I was a boy and quickly took all of my marbles. From shooting marbles, pool, rifles, or golf, he had a natural way to sight targets in. Sometimes when I see my brother Jim, I see this in him too. The family all loved their dog, Tinker. He was a mixed breed terrier bulldog. Tinker, like a lot of dogs, followed the kids to school. When the dogs fought, the kids from inside watched at the windows. Dad said Tinker came in low, and he loved hearing the big ranch dogs yelp, with Tinker hanging on below as they ran down the street. Years later, when our grandma Almeda spoke of Tinker in my father's presence, he would always quiet and he would soften. Dad began field work and ranch work at a young age. He bucked a lot of hay and alfalfa, and in his late teens, sometimes he stayed in the bunkhouses with the cowboys. His father, Rex, had a reputation as a worker in the mills around Prineville. Rex and his Swedish partner opted for payment by the piece count rather than the hour, and were the highest paid in the mill. Not only could Rex work, he was methodical, and in his 30s became a planerman. I personally know Rex retired one of the highest regarded planermen in the state of Oregon. Dad also worked at Ochiko Lumber as a teenager. He was fond of telling us about two old Swedes on his boxcar loading crew. Dad, being young and strong, could outwork them, and the Swedes took offense. Dad loved describing the sight it was to watch these broken old men grab double stacks of lumber, throw them on his shoulders, and literally run to get in front of the kid. At Crook County High School, Dad lettered in football, basketball, baseball, and track. His sister Sheila was popular and a cheerleader. The Crook County mascot was the Cowboys, and they played football on the dirt of the rodeo grounds. When the temperatures dropped, the ground hardened, and that was the team's home field advantage. He was starting tailback, an Elks All-Star, and an Eastern Shriner. In basketball, he played guard, baseball center field. He went to state in both the shot put and the 100. He ran track in baseball fields. Ochiko Lumber awarded Dennis a partial college scholarship, and the balance was picked up by Eastern Oregon University in LeGrand to play tailback. He injured his knee at the end of his freshman season. Unable to play football, Dad funded himself by creating a popular blackjack table operating as the house. Gambling was a success, but he got into trouble with the university and left for the Army. In the Army, he was mostly stationed in Germany. Dad would say he went into the Army as a private, and 5 years later, discharged as a private. He might add, I was discharged honorably. He'd suggest the military did special tests on him, as if he was some kind of human guinea pig, which I always thought was rather funny. But I did later learn why. The test stemmed from disciplinary actions and a demotion. Evidently, Dad and his master sergeant were not friendly. One evening, they decided to settle it. Dad came out on top, which led to a very rocky military career thereafter. Sometimes Dad would go further about the military test and say, they diagnosed me with tunnel vision. That double amused me because in his mind it explained everything. And the triple amusement was his comparing my brother John's mountain biking to his tunnel vision. Regardless, Dad was the proudest of Americans. He loved American competitiveness. He respected the military, and we certainly appreciate the guardsmen and the flag ceremony. Thank you. Dennis returned to Oregon in 1965. He found work in Portland at Georgia Pacific, working in the print shop. And that's where our mother, Lana Pashik, was. She was a Northeast Portland girl, an extremely good student who actually passed on a Reed Scholarship to work in GP's legal department. Mom said she noticed Dennis right away, but he did not notice her. Lana learned he played for GP's fast pitch softball team in City League, so she became a fan. After one game, Denny's tunnel vision struck, leading to a bar scrap with the opposing team. He and Mom jumped into a car after, thus the Prineville Wildcat was snared. Soon after, Dennis uttered the family famous words to Lana, "Are you woman enough for me?" They married in 1965. I was born March of 1967. My first memories are of the Binford Apartments off Northeast Halsey and my new sister Susie coming home in May of 1969. I have no memories of Dad then. He was very busy running a printer and studying business at Portland State. And we know Mom was a big help with his homework. After completing his bachelor's, Dennis began as a paper salesman for the wholesaler Blake Moffitt in town. In sales at BMT is where he discovered one of his great life passions, golf. Our family's next move was to the Red House on Northeast 144th, and that's where our brother John arrived in February 1973. The house was small, with baby John and I sharing a bedroom. Mom and Dad added another room off the back, and soon the next brother Jim arrived in December 1975. We all liked the Red House. It was behind Margaret Scott's school, and we only had to jump the fence to be at her baseball diamond. I played a lot of baseball. Dad took interest in management and became the commissioner of Tri-County baseball. Susie showed promise also in softball, so he teamed up with Mike Condos to become coaches for their daughters. Dad was fond of those times, remembering the girls' names and accomplishments. All the girls wanted to play for Dad and Mike. Instead of cutting players, they fielded two evenly talented teams that swapped each inning to balance playing time. He loved taking leads several times, and especially loved beating opposing teams that stacked their players against him. With continued success in sales and as sales manager, Dad could afford a larger house. They wanted to stay in the neighborhood and purchased the Pitts house just 2 blocks away. The best part about the house was it had a pool. During this time, a talented salesman who worked with Dad at BMT prior contacted him about an opportunity. Tom Grove's new employer was struggling, and the inventory was available at a discount. They bought the inventory, secured warehouse space, and G&G Paper Company was formed. The formation of G&G was also about the time our youngest brother Danny was born in August of 1980. We added another bedroom to the Pitts house. I worked in the warehouse at G&G for 3 summers and holidays around my sports schedule. Tom and Dad had a lot of success and moved twice to larger facilities. They really had an eye for young people, starting them in the warehouse, and also hired seasoned salesmen. They secured exclusive distribution from an important Asian mill, ensuring more success. Yet, by age 18, I was happy to get some distance. My grandfather Rex found me work at a sawmill, and I soon left the house. My talents were better suited elsewhere. A couple years later, the large Canadian company Abitibi made a USA West Coast expansion and purchased G&G. Dad stayed on for a bit and took retirement at 50. It was a good move for his health and allowed focus back to family and, of course, golf. In the mid-'80s to mid-'90s, the Pitts house normal was chaos. John, Jim, and Danny attracted all the neighborhood. They were constantly in movement, jumping bikes, skateboard ramps in the driveway, and of course the pool. Jim spent hours on the backyard trampoline with a snowboard. Dad groomed Danny as a catcher while following John's every move and ultimately steering John towards the Navy. Dad joined Pleasant Valley Golf Course. He enjoyed tournament play, wagers, member board positions, and many friendships. The family wants to thank 2 of Dad's great golf friends, Tom Kerr and Tom Workman, for their friendship and support. Our mother was artistic and enjoyed animals. She wanted to move someplace with more land, so in the mid-'90s they bought the Jackson Park house in Troutdale. The house was perfectly situated on 3 private acres, and once again, there was a pool for Danny, Jim, and the grandkids. Dad's mother passed away in the early 80s, and by the late 90s, he was spending a lot of time with and supporting his father, Rex. I remember at Rex's services, Dad being solemn. He rose and said one thing: Rex never took a day's unemployment. It was clear Dad respected his father and his work ethic. Between logging companies, jippos, and sawmills, Rex literally worked for 50 employers throughout his life. He never quit a job without another in hand and maintained a solid reputation. 12 years ago at Jackson Park, our mother passed away after a 3-year battle with ALS. At Mom's funeral, I said, Dennis Gustavson was her hero in illness. And I meant it. Dad's nature is not that of a caregiver, and I was so impressed with his resolve. He rose twice nightly for 2 years. The only time he wavered was with a simple question: How can we continue this? And that was only after he tore his biceps tendon lifting Mom. The family managed, we carried out Mom's wishes, and Dad was still in the lead. Gradually after, Dad recovered his strength and his health. He returned to his love of golf following business news and even rekindled relationships back in Prineville. He took over financial management of Mom's uncle and brother. With a methodical and dutiful hand, he supported and guided their affairs. He dropped cakes off to Benji and cigarettes to Kenny. He sat as patriarch, and there was little question. Dad continued to enjoy his pool liberally, and all the visits from friends and family. We all knew to honk and make a lot of noise driving up the long driveway, for fear of seeing Denny asleep on his favorite pool float naked. Dad mentioned several times the original G&G guys were still together at West Coast Paper, where Tom is CEO, and 3 of the once warehousemen from G&G are now in senior leadership and sales. It's clear he was proud of their continued success. Dad loved the talents and successes of his children. I'm told this by a buddy, he would go on, which says a lot, as it wasn't exactly his nature. As his grandkids grew, he took delight following their moves. The oldest being Tyler, an international audit manager at Ernst & Young in London, Grant, the mechanical engineer, also on guitar later, Tommy, a strapping student at OSU, Mason, the extra coordinated and also a student at OSU, Elliot, a basketball stud, Cameron, the youngest, Elliot, a student at Central Catholic, and he's a very charming young man. And Cameron, who is the youngest, and he's a basketball stud. And not to forget, the pragmatic, smart, multi-talented Ellie, who is the family's only granddaughter. These grandkids made his life's work his reward, and he loved that. As my father aged, his health issues increased, but he also showed inhuman resolve to recover. He liked his position and independence. He could be a challenge, yet my siblings and spouse's strength aiding our mother gave me great confidence. We could discover and both meet Dad's wishes. Our best approach remained, don't challenge Denny too much, because he was insistent to take all of his own strokes. Yet sometimes we subtly kicked the ball from the rough back into the fairway. More things about Dad. He didn't give a damn what anybody thought about him smoking. He loved making burn piles in his pasture. He took a long position on frozen chicken pot pies once after a talk with the grocery store manager. He ate a pot pie a day for 9 months. He liked trapping moles. My mother made a contest of rodent catching versus Jim's dog. She hung a tally on the fridge called varmint count. The dog took the early lead, but Denny eventually won. Dad had a great business mind. In his 30s, he taught a semester at Mount Hood Community College just for fun. He remembered economic quotes from Adam Smith. He favored pragmatics and bottom line over complexity. He was conservative with his money, but he loved trying to beat the market. He had a number of boiled-down expressions that explained everything at once, but nothing at all. He became a student of CBD public startups after a conversation with Danny. He followed politics and saw through the narrative. He was quick to spot BS. He liked showing off his front tuck cannonball and kept his form until the very end. He created competitions when others didn't even know they were playing. Our many conversations could devolve into tactics in a chess game, especially when I was seeking discovery of his medical condition or threatening his independence. If he perceived a threat to his desire or family, he could turn edgy on a dime. He could be devilish with his humor. He had very quick hands. He was kind to people with disabilities and enjoyed helping them, providing they tried a little too. He loved my wife Gina stopping by regularly and filling his fridge with homemade soup. He liked John's wife Erica's lemon pie. He thought investing in anything Jim's wife Linda was doing was a great idea. He liked to negotiate medical costs, once pulling his own tooth at the dentist to get the fee waived. He corrupted his golfing buddies into aiding and abetting medical mischief. He concealed taking ambulances to emergency, and he hitchhiked back home. And this list goes on and on. After lung surgery 18 months ago, he was in real bad shape. He regained strength by doing push-ups daily. Dad did 35 push-ups last summer. It was clear Dad had an enduring soft spot with each of his daughters-in-law. When he beat us in negotiations, we'd add a piece to the chessboard by sending in a queen. He knew Susie was a badass. He was good at yard work, but not handy. He kept beer in his fridge for Jim and Quentin. He enjoyed John and his mountain bike buddies stopping by. He played golf last summer with his buddies and got out to Workman's Bar for Taco Tuesday. He wasn't a religious man per se, yet definitely respected religion. I also think in times like this, religion gave him comfort. My father really did have tunnel vision. Dennis Gustavson had a rock-solid resolve and moral set tied to his family history, being an American, and growing up in the West. He never preached his morals, yet relished taking any life challenge on to satisfy them. He knew his morals weren't yours, and he didn't care. He took quiet delight in breaking rules of others, and sometimes he wasn't very quiet. Dad was the one you called to affirm the big decision, and the one to share your family's success. He always took interest. If he was here, he would think the attention was asinine. I'd giggle and say, well, Dad, your opinion really doesn't matter, because none of it is for you. I called him Dad or Old Man, and when he wasn't around, sometimes the original. Dennis Gustavson is my greatest mentor. Thank you.
Sharing some thoughts from his brother Tyler, who could not be here today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tommy, and I'm Tim's youngest son. Our oldest brother Tyler isn't able to be here today, but he has asked that I read something for him, which should resonate with all of Dennis's grandchildren. Tyler writes, while I wish I was there in person with you all, as Dennis's oldest grandson, I feel that it is important to share a few words about what my grandfather meant to me. As a child, I spent many long summer days running around his and my late grandmother's yard and pasture being into all kinds of trouble. When I wasn't chasing after the dogs or the chickens, or running away from the sheep or alpacas, my grandpa would teach me things, like how to swing a golf club, shoot a gun, check traffic rules, burn a hot dog, be anywhere I want outside, just not in the pool. As well as how to not have a speeding or a seatbelt ticket. But the things he really taught me were that a man's strength is based on the strength of his character. That you don't run away from responsibility, but also that you are never too old to enjoy life. One of the best words I can use to describe him was crafty. Technically, both my grandparents were, but Dennis was never sewing clothes or knitting blankets. He instead loved a good game, and if he could outwit or outmaneuver someone, whether it was to have a minimum 50-cent bet on a game of pool with his 8-year-old grandson, or to secret away the last chocolate eclair or brownie without anyone noticing. He took great joy in a little mischief. It was rare that he would leave our home growing up without telling us first to be good, and asking us, but if you can't be good, then what? To which we would always heartfully reply, be careful. To some, that would appear to be a great wisdom. But as Hemingway once wrote in A Farewell to Arms, that is a great fallacy, the wisdom of old men. They do not grow wise, they grow careful. Well, Dennis, to me, was good, wise, careful, moral, mischievous, and 100 other things. I am sad that he's gone, but I always carry with me the impact he's had on my life. Thank you, Grandpa, for everything you've done for us, and you be careful wherever you go next.
The family's prepared a video presentation. And Grant, there's the company.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. It was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come. 'Twas grace that hath brought us this far, and grace will lead us home. Amazing grace, how
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Dennis was our neighbor. He had his opinions and beliefs. He was most definitely a man with convictions. Independence was important, even in the way he passed. He was doing his thing, not malingering. He was not a burden. He had health issues, but that would not stop him. And he may or may not know that there were a lot of family and friends that were keeping an eye on him. He was proud. He was proud of the United States, very proud of his family, proud of his heritage, and proud of his accomplishments. He loved many in his own way, and they loved him. He withheld nothing, and he had radar for BS. He played marbles for keeps. He knew how to run a successful business with partners, and he helped those in need. And he had a passion for golf. Okay, maybe you don't agree with him. Maybe one thinks he might have been a little rough around the edges, and time tends to sand down those sharp edges. Or not. But he had a vision, and it was his. There's a great quote that seems to sum up his journey through life, and it's written by Hunter Thompson. Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." Spring?
is hard and steep, but beauty is fierce. Rise before me, for God's redeemed. My victor's I'm going home to see my mother. She said she'd meet me when I come. I am just going over Jordan. I'm just going over I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over home.
I thank everyone for attending today. It has truly been an honor. It means a lot to the family, and I thank you. There is a reception at the Persimmon Golf Club, 500 Butler Road in Gresham. Just be known that it starts at 2 o'clock. They will let you in earlier. And you're all invited. There will be an open microphone, so all those stories that you want to tell, hang on to those. It'll be available for anybody to use and do some reminiscing. Thank you again.